Well, Oz Hassan is a professor in politics and international studies at the University of Warwick in the United Kingdom. Professor Hassan, good to speak to you this morning. So what does this say about the lack of coordination between European intelligence services? And is there now a real threat that the Schengen Agreement may be torn up?
I think that's true. I think that the Schengen Agreement is in serious trouble because if you look at where these terrorists have travelled, they've had free movement between Belgium, France and Holland, and that's certainly allowed them to deepen a plot and really build up a cell that has been capable of carrying out what I would regard as two atrocities, one after the other, as part of the same cell.
Now, Professor Hassan, the Belgian authorities and the Dutch authorities involved in this said they didn't flag the man who was deported from Turkey, who's now said to have been involved in that bombing at the airport, because they didn't have enough evidence to hold him, even though he tried to cross into Syria to join Daesh. How can countries improve intelligence gathering and sharing without infringing on the civil liberties of their citizens?
I think to look at this as a sort of human rights, civil liberties debate is the wrong way of looking at it. Because what you'll find is, for example, in the UK, where we have better intelligence services and better intelligence coordination, we're far more used to working with different intelligence organisations. Intelligence has really worked very well. What you find on the continent, certainly within Belgium, that has particular problems with intelligence and its intelligence bureaucracies, is that there is a lack of intelligence. There is an intelligence gap. There is a security gap. So it really, just to think about it as intelligence in that way and as civil liberties is the wrong way of looking at it. What needs to happen is that the intelligence services need, and the Belgian government need to start filling that gap with the help of the European Union.
Well, Professor Hassan, if you don't pay mind to civil liberties, you end up in situations like Guantanamo Bay in Cuba, where you have people staying there for years and years without ever facing trial.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the civil liberties and human rights legislation in place is actually fully functional, so we shouldn't get rid of it. In fact, it holds up quite well. What we need is intelligence services that actually work on continental Europe. So Belgium, for example, it went 589 days in between 2010 and 2011 without a government. You can't then turn around and say that its intelligence services are fully functioning. There are gaps within the intelligence services that need to be filled quite quickly, because this has been an enormous intelligence failure on their part. So the civil liberties and the human rights legislation that are in place, they don't need to be challenged in any way. What needs to happen is that intelligence needs to come through first.
And Professor Hassan, there's been talk about the amount of money that countries like Belgium have to try and bolster their security forces. Is there a lack of financing behind some European countries in terms of dealing with this threat?
I think financing is always in part, and security services will always tell you that they always want more resources. I think in the Belgian case, what you have is an overwhelming number of individuals, somewhere between, estimates have placed it between 400 to 560, Belgian citizens who have travelled to Syria and Iraq, gained training, and then come back to Belgium, whereas, population-wise, that's the largest in Europe, and yet Belgium is also a very small country. So this isn't a problem with the Muslim community in Belgium. I want to underline that. But the problem has been that the intelligence services in Belgium are too small to deal with this, and there's a lack of cooperation at a European level to help them deal with it any further. So really what I would point to is that this is an intelligence failure. Intelligence services don't just need more finance, they need more manpower, and they need more intelligence on the ground. And also they need more policing, because this has clearly been a policing failure as well.
Professor Oz Hassan from Warwick University, really good to speak to you. We have to leave it there, but thanks for joining us on TRT World.